Hey folks, how's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. So in this video, we're going to be doing a full review of the Zotac GTX 1060, the AMP edition. We're going to be taking a look at the overall full HD and quad HD gaming performance, as well as take a look at some VR benchmarking, see what this card is really capable of. And a lot of people are curious to see how the GTX 1060 compares against the older generation NVIDIA GPUs, specifically the GTX 970 and even the 980. So if you want to see what this card has to offer, stay tuned and let's find out. Now, essentially, the GTX 1060 promises the performance that you get with a GTX 980, but at a much more competitive price point. In terms of overall specifications, we're using the new NVIDIA Pascal architecture, so you have a decent improvement looking at the previous generation GTX 960 of having over 1280 CUDA cores compared to 1024, as well as having a significant bump when it comes to texture map units, texture fill rate, as well as render output units as well. Furthermore, the memory capacity has gone up drastically from the 960. We now have cards that can support 6 gigs of GDDR5, as well as have a much higher clock speed. And now we have a 192-bit memory bus versus the previous generation 960 had a 128-bit memory bus. With all this new hardware specifications, looks like the 1060 can definitely handle some pixels, and it's going to be ideal for people running quad HD systems and potentially even VR. Now, in terms of the power parameters, the Zotac AMP Edition GTX 1060 that we have over here only requires a single PCI Express power connection, so that's pretty simple and straightforward. The TDP is rated at 120 watts based on our full gaming load test playing Grand Theft Auto 5 at quad HD resolution. The 1060 at peak load drawed about 136 watts isolated from the system itself. In the exact same scenario, our Zotac version of the GTX 960 was a little bit more efficient, pulling about 121 watts. Now, the Ice Storm cooler that comes with this AMP Edition card from Zotac is actually really nice. As you can see, the card itself is fairly compact, only measures around 210 millimeters from end to end and about 128 millimeters in terms of overall width. It comes with a dual 90 millimeter fans, and the fans are actually pretty much silent when the graphics card's in idle, so it's great if you're going to build a quiet overall system. And even at full gaming load, when it comes to acoustics and overall fan noise, the card never goes beyond 35 decibels, so even at full gaming loads, you're going to have a fairly subtle and quiet running system. In terms of thermal dynamics, Zotac did a great job of designing this cooler. You can see that the aluminum fins go even beyond the PCB, so heat dissipation is definitely not a problem. And thanks to dual 8mm heat pipes and a solid copper block, your temperatures really don't go beyond 70 degrees even at full gaming load. Furthermore, when it comes to connectivity, we have a single HDMI 2.0B connection, as well as having 3 DisplayPort 1.4 standards. And theoretically, the GTX 1060 can support a maximum resolution of 7680 by 4320. Now, moving forward, let's talk about some of the performance capabilities of what the GTX 1060 has to offer, especially compared to the GTX 970 as well as the 980. So the first thing is taking a look at the Steam VR benchmark. Surprisingly, the 1060 comes out to be the winner of getting 8.6 points versus the 980 got 8.3 points and the 970 got 7.1 points. Furthermore, looking at the 3D Mark TimeSpy benchmark, which is a full DirectX 12 synthetic benchmark, you're looking at pretty much a tie between the 980 and the 1060 at around 4,100 points, and the GTX 970 comes at around 3,800 points. Now, taking a look at the Rise of the Tomb Raider, our real-world gaming benchmark results, which is a DirectX 12 title, you can see that when it comes to 1080p resolution, the 1060 is coming just a little bit faster than our 980 and significantly faster than the 970. But once you start increasing the resolution to Quad HD 2560 by 1440, we do find a 2 to 3% advantage going to the GTX 980. And taking a look at an OpenGL title, Doom 2016, Ultra settings, SMAA enabled. You're seeing here that the results indicate that our GTX 980 is slightly faster than the 1060, not by a huge margin, both when it comes to quad and HD resolution. Of course, the 960 is significantly faster than the 970, as you can see. And just to throw in a couple of different DirectX 11 titles, looking at Far Cry Primal at very high settings. At 1080p, we do find a slight advantage. Going to the 1060, it's getting about 74.1 average FPS versus 72.9 on the 980. And when it comes to Quad HD resolution, both of those cards are pretty much tied. Lastly, looking at an oldie but a goodie, GTA 5, high detail settings, 2x MSAA enabled. You're looking at about 111.5 average FPS at 1080p, going to the GTX 1060 versus about 109.1 on the 980. And the 970 scores about 84.9 average FPS respectively. And looking at the Quad HD resolution, you can see that by a very slight margin, the GTX 1060 is the winner when playing Grand Theft Auto 5 in this scenario over here. But really on that, guys, that's really it. In most regards, if you're coming from a 960 or older GPU, I think it's definitely worth getting the 1060 if you want to up your gaming performance and potentially even do some VR gaming in the future. It's certainly an excellent graphics card to do so. And if you are interested in the Zotac version, I think it definitely offers a very compact, efficient overall graphics card solution that's going to be more than capable of playing pretty much every game at high detail settings at full HD resolution as well as Quad HD resolution. And if you want to see how the GTX 1060 compares against the RX 480 from AMD, definitely check out our other video in the channel. You'll find a link for that video in the description down below, or click on the card that you see right above my head. But really on that, guys, that's really it. Big thank you to Zotac. Without them, this video wouldn't be possible. But again, thanks again for watching, and we'll see you later. Take care.